welcome to my video today here on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here and popping in to watch this. I am back at Kayla's album. My camera will stop shaking in just 1 minute. I think I was probably plugging it in because it was dying, but it'll stop shaking in just a second. And then what you're seeing, we're just going to dive right in, and I'm going to do a little bit of a voiceover. We're going to look at the Project Life app and some things that I did in that, and then I'll wrap the video up at the very end. I've had this footage for a little bit. It's just been a little bit hard to get into my office and voice over with the heat wave that California is experiencing. So I apologize for the delay. We're back in Kayla's album, and what I wanted to do today was show you the process of actually putting the layouts into the album and then doing this front, the very front of her album, and cutting the cards down and adding the white border. So what I have is her layouts that I took out of the Postbound album, which are these right here. I have some other photos that I found. I have some cards, some things that are going to go in there. I put this layout together. It's not really a layout. I put these photos in this pocket, and I decided that I'm going to use these photos here in the pocket that I had found for the front of her album for this little title page here that starts the album out, and you'll see those. So these already have a white border. They were printed really close to after we had them done. So they already have a white border. I was planning on just putting those extra photos that I had in the pocket there, and then I was just going to add them to the album, but I realized they would be really great to do her title page. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut this page protector down, because I will have a few extra of those photos, and I will want to put them in her album. So I just trimmed off the edge. I do that a lot. I cut my page protectors up to make work for what I want them to work for. I'm putting on a movie. I'm going to be at this a little bit. So I'm going to put on a movie, and I'm just going to, some of this is just repetitive, kind of tedious work. And so I just want to have something on, and I'm going to just dive in and do this. So one of the things that I had said and I had gotten a question about is that I would cut down the cards, because this is an older core kit. The corners are rounded, and I actually like rounded corners, but I don't like to mix. So if there is a card that's rounded corners, then I want everything else to be rounded. Now, when you do a white border around your photos, like these already have this white border printed around them, it doesn't look that great to do a rounded corner. So I knew I didn't want to round the corners of these photos, and I also knew that the rest of her album wasn't going to have necessarily rounded corners. So I just want everything to match. Now, at first, I was thinking, I don't know if I want to trim all of these. This is what I'm thinking right now. I don't know if I want to trim all of these and make them not rounded, but I'm so glad in the end that I did, because of the way it looks. And I think when you see it at the end, I think you'll see what I mean. So I'm taking a 12 by 12 piece of white cardstock. Now, this white cardstock is from Stampin' Up, and currently Stampin' Up, you can get larger packs of 12 by 12 paper. It's the Close to My Heart paper that you can get. Now, if you were not formally a Close to My Heart customer, you cannot purchase the product from Stampin' Up. Only those who had an account with Close to My Heart can. But if you are looking for something on the Stampin' Up website and it is a Close to My Heart item and you want to purchase it, please reach out to me, because I can help you get it. And I picked up a pack of the Daisy White cardstock, so I could use that. And I'm using the 12 by 12 cardstock because you can cut it down and get 3 by 4, 4 by 6 cards out of the 12 by 12 without wasting any white cardstock. Whereas if I was using 8.5 by 11 white cardstock, then I would have leftover pieces. So that's why I chose to use the 12 by 12. So here I'm showing you how I trim it down. So you can see that the first cut I do, I just look at I just make a cut, and then I just line it up so you can see, and then it ends up taking off about the right amount. I'm never looking for it to be perfect. I just make the first cut, and then I line up the rounded corner with the other side. I don't know if that makes sense. It's a little bit hard to explain, but hopefully by watching it, you will be able to see what I do. And then you see it ends up being a nice border. Now I'm using my ATG gun to attach these. It's the easiest way to attach all of this to white cardstock. You could use liquid glue, or you could use roller adhesive, whatever you have. The nice thing about the ATG gun is that it's a lot on the ATG gun, so you don't have to stop to like constantly refill it. So then once I get it trimmed down, then I will attach it to the white piece of cardstock, and then you can see that matches the photo with the white border. Now you can go back, rewind the video a little bit, and you can rewatch how I trim those cards down more specifically if you missed it. I know I didn't do a great job of explaining it. But my basic point in saying that I trim down the rounded corner pieces is that I'm not all that specific. I'm not trying to take exactly a 1/4 inch off or exactly them all be the exact same amount. I've done this enough that they end up all coming out about the same amount because my system works well. And so they end up being just fine. But that is how I trim those down. It is a little bit tedious in that, especially because I've already put the cards in the pockets. So it can be a little bit tedious in that you're pulling the cards back out. But it will, you'll get through it. I did stop to go ahead and cut down a bunch of white cardstock to 3x4 and 4x6, just so that I would have those already in front of me. And I totally messed up and I cut one of the cuts wrong, so I did have to trim them down. But overall, it wasn't a big deal. So I added the photos, and then here you can see I went through and trimmed down all the cards, and I love the way that looks. I'm so happy that I went ahead and took the time to trim those down and add the white cardstock, because with the borders of the photos being white, it really pops and looks really good. It looks really clean. I just love it. So I'm going to take the extra photos that I have here of this. It was like it wasn't a newborn photo shoot, but it was just her baby professional photos that we had done. Fun fact, we didn't do that for any of our other kids. So that's okay. But I'm going to put in the rest of the ones that I have. Some of them are duplicates, like they're black and white. I have like a black and white photo, and then I have the color photo. So I just picked basically my favorite ones. Now, at first, I could not remember how old she was when I got those photos done. But fun fact, in these layouts, you will end up seeing a traditional layout I did with some of those photos. So I will end up adding those extra photos in between that layout, and you will see that. So I'm just going to trim some of these down. Now, I did not add any journaling or anything like that. I just really added the white cardstock to these, and then I added those photos. And then what we're going to do is we're going to dive into trimming down her layouts, and I also want to show you what I'm doing on the Project Life app and how I'm tackling this. The other thing that I was able to do is just do front and back. So like this card right here, there was already, on the front, I had added the card to the white cardstock, and then on the back, I could just attach one to the back. I didn't really necessarily need to add another piece of white cardstock, so that was nice. So now here is where this was probably the most time consuming, is trimming down these layouts and adding white cardstock to some of these, because if you recall, I pulled all of these out of a post bound album. Now the post bound albums that were on the market at the time, you know, this was 17 years ago when I purchased these products, and the post bound albums, when you put the page protectors in, they were not true 12 by 12. They were slightly smaller. So the D-ring that the album is now in that I'm using is true 12 by 12. The page protectors are true 12 by 12. So what I'm having to do is trim some of these down and add them to white cardstock. Also, some of these layouts are on really thin pattern paper. So there wasn't really all that much thought into quality back then when I was buying products. You know, I was buying paper packs at Michael's or Joann's, and you know, some of this paper is thinner, some of it is thicker, and so if it's not true 12 by 12 or it's really thin paper, then what I'm needing to do is add white cardstock. You can also see on this layout here, like the baby, the BABY is it is folded, like, in this, like, some of my embellishments have gotten not jacked up a ton, but like a little bit. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I have my sticky notes, and I'm labeling pages, and the next clip you're going to see is how I approach this in the Project Life app to condense the pages of her first album. So I didn't want some of these layouts are not significant to her. Some of these people, like, aren't necessarily in our life anymore. If she was looking at them, they wouldn't have any meaning to her. They have more meaning for my husband and I. So how I'm deciding is, if I feel like a layout is something that she's not gonna really know or really care about, I'm gonna pop it in the Project Life app and I'm gonna condense some of these layouts. If it is a layout that I feel like she will appreciate or understand, then I will leave it in her album. So this chart right here is of her eating schedule. She had some weight problems, and like when she was born, I didn't produce enough breast milk, and we had to do breastfeeding and bottle feeding, and we had to keep track of like when she was eating and her weight. And so I put that in the smaller pocket, and then on the back of that I put a sticky note that said to journal about all of that, and I'll just type that journaling out, and then I'll slip that into that pocket and add it. So here you see my post-it note, and you see it will say Project Life print. Then there is a square with some lines through it, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have the name of the layout, and that will make sense right as we jump right into the Project Life app and what I did with that. Now, as I jump into the Project Life app, the footage that I took, the screen recording, I slowed way down so that I could explain what I'm doing. So in the Project Life app, I'm going to go to create a layout. I'm going to go to the collage feature, which in a second I'll realize I'm not in the collage feature. So just give me a second here. Oh. I was originally thinking I would need to drop it into an editorial layout and then save those, but what I realized is I can just go straight into the collage feature. I'm going to scroll down and find the design. It used to be called the design E. Now the designs are just numbered. So you're going to scroll down until you find pack 3, and you're going to select the first layout. Now these are 6. When you print this, it's going to be 12 by 12. Each square is going to be 6 by 6. So once you have that collage picked, then you're going to go into your photos. Now, I've taken photos of all the layouts I want to condense. So they're in my camera roll. And I'm going to choose one. Now, there's a couple things to note here. Because these layouts are not true 12 by 12, because again, they were in a post-bound album, and they were not true 12 by 12, fitting them into a square like this, some of the, like, it may not be perfect is what I realized. What I should have done is added all of the layouts to white cardstock to make them true 12 by 12, because I ended up adding them anyways, because the layouts that are not going in Kayla's album I'm keeping, and I'm putting in an album that I will have. So what I did is I just laid these flat down, and then I snapped a photo of them, and then you can see what I realized is they're not true 12 by 12. So some of them, putting them into the square, it was a little bit harder than it needed to be. But you can see here's a 12 by 12 page, and I'm going to get 2 layouts onto one page. So what I would do is I just laid the layout on the ground. I stood over it, and then I snapped the photo. Now, if you have an iPhone, I don't know about an Android because I've never had an Android phone, but on the iPhone, you can turn on a feature on your camera that will show you how level the photo is. So it will guide you. It ends up being like this little X kind of in the middle of your photo, and as you tilt your phone either front or back or side to side, the photo will line up, and that feature I use. If you're not familiar with that and you would like me to show you how that works, please leave a comment because I will show you. I know it's a little bit hard when I'm just talking through things, and I'm a visual learner, so it's easier for me to see something than just hear somebody talking about it. But that feature is always on my phone because I take so many photos like this for work type things. So it was easy for me to get a straight photo. I also use the editing app on my iPhone you can tilt your picture in certain ways or stretch it out to make things straighter. So my recommendation is to take the photos of your layouts and then just use the editing feature on your, again, I'm not positive about Android. I'm sure there's something similar. You could Google it or YouTube, Android, using your phone for taking photos. But then I just use the iPhone editing feature to tilt the photo or stretch it or make it straighter. And so my recommendation is to take all of the photos and then edit all of the photos and then pop it into the app, because then it's going to work better, basically. Like, it's going to be straighter and into the you're going to be able to drop it into these spots easier. So this is a perfect example of how the layout itself is not a true square. It's not a 12 by 12 layout because I've trimmed that down when I originally did it. So if I had put that on white cardstock, it would have been a better square. It would have been a true square, and it would have fit into the square easier. But you basically get the idea. What I'm doing is I'm photographing these layouts, and then I'm putting them side by side. Now, what I ended up deciding to do was take all of her monthly layouts, like this one, this January one, I ended up putting in the Project Life app like this. But I end up putting all of the rest of her months actually in her album. So then you save that to your camera roll. And then when I print these app pages, it'll just be one 12 by 12 page. And it will have basically 2 layouts on each page. So I just repeat this process, which is why you saw when I was working in her album, I had those sticky notes that said PL app. So I knew it was a page. Then I drew the square with 4 spots, and then I numbered it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I did the name of the layout. So when I get these prints back, those sticky notes will guide me to where to put the layouts. That is really important to be able to make sure that they go in the right place. Now, this is this right here, this what I'm doing right now. You can see that layout is very crooked in that box, and there's no way in the app to make that straighter. So this is where I realize I really need to edit the photos and make them straight and crop them first before I actually put them into the layout. So you will end up seeing me do that. And like this one is straighter. So there were some that I do a pretty good job of taking them straight right away, but I was noticing, because they weren't a true 12 by 12, that it was a little bit of a struggle to get them in here. So after that, I realized I just should have put them all on 12 by 12 paper and added them and then took photos of them. Again, some of these are not ones that she's going to be terribly interested in. We're more interested in them, so it's going to be fine. So let me jump into my camera roll and show you how I edit this layout that is really crooked. Again, I'm on an iPhone, so I don't know all of the buttons or features on an Android, but this might give you an idea. So the first thing I do is I open it up and then I crop it close to the edges of the layout. So you can see just by cropping and pulling the frame down around the layout, I'm going to be able to better see how straight things are. Okay. And then on the iPhone, you will see that it says horizontal, vertical, and you can slide this bar back and forth to straighten things. Now, if you do it too much, it certainly is going to distort the photo. But if you do it a little bit at a time, you can see that I end up being able to straighten up this photo really, really well. You can see it is quite crooked as I've pulled the photo in and tried to line it up. So you can see, like, I was doing it a lot just to give you so you could see that you can actually stretch it and fix quite a crooked photo. So you can see by just messing with those, the different horizontal or vertical, you can straighten it. Now, is it going to be like totally perfect? No, but the thing is that you're not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for this to be perfect. She will have an idea of these layouts. No, you're probably not going to be able to see the journaling. It is a 6x6 square that we're dropping these layouts into, but as it gets printed, probably you're losing some of the journaling, but I'm not getting rid of the layouts. If she was like, oh, I saw my first bath layout and I really wanted to know what the journaling was on that, or I will have the album. She can call me up and be like, hey. And if for some reason she was looking through the album and she was like, hey, I really wanted that layout in here, she could have it, right? So the idea is that it's not perfect. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for a solution. So that is one of my biggest tips that I will share with you is don't look for perfection in any of your albums that you're doing. Look for a solution. My goal is for her to have an overview of the first 17 to 18 years of her life, from the time she's born until the end of high school, to have a nice overview. I'm never looking for every story to be told, every moment of her life for her to have these albums. I'm looking for a really nice overview. So taking into consideration what my goal is, I want this first album to have like her first year and then the stuff at the beginning of the album. So that's my goal. So I'm not going to look for perfection. I'm going to look for the solution. And I could have a scanner. It probably would be better if I scanned these, but those are like $800-900, and I'm not spending that on a scanner that can scan 12 by 12 when I can snap a photo and make this work for what I'm doing. So what I realized is that I should probably edit and crop all of the photos down before dropping them into the Project Life app. So that is what I ended up doing. So if you have more questions about that process, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions or help you out in any way I can. All right, I want to chat through the wrap up of this part of the video because I definitely have some thoughts. So I have a whole bunch of strips of paper where I have trimmed this out, and I did exactly what I was doing in the beginning. I don't know, I've been at this about 2 hours, so it definitely was a little bit time consuming, but I just put on a movie, and once I got in the flow of things, I just kept going. One of the I don't know if I've mentioned or not in the voiceover, but one of the tips I have is to stay on task. So I didn't get up in the middle of this to go photograph all of these pages that you're gonna see that are gonna be in the Project Life app. I just kept going with trimming down her regular pages and getting them into the page protectors. I didn't stop to do journaling. I didn't stop to look for photos. I think probably the next video you're going to see in this process is going to be, I'm trying to get this a little straighter here on camera, is going to be me printing out the photos for these first few layouts, and then I also am going to place a Project Life app order so you can see all of the prints and the way they're going to look, and I'm going to drop them in here. So I didn't stop to get photos. I didn't, because here's the thing. All of these photos here for the very beginning, I'm gonna have to go back and look through photos, right? And I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get distracted. I'm gonna find videos. I'm gonna have to track photos down, which means I'm gonna have to go to several different places. And that's gonna be my whole afternoon. And so getting distracted from the process, I never would have got as much done today as I got done. So I still have to do that, is find all these photos. I showed you how I cut these down. I like the way this looks much better. At first, when I opened up the album this morning, I was like, I'm just gonna leave them rounded. It's not a big deal. The beginning will be rounded and I won't worry about it. But then I did this because I specifically had a question of like, how are you going to do that? And then I put this all together and I was like, oh, it's beautiful. I want everything the same. So I did this. I'm, again, not worried about journaling. I started to be like, oh, what am I gonna put on this page? What am I gonna put here? What am I gonna put here? It doesn't matter. I don't care right now. It's not my focus. So that is the beginning. I still have my sticky notes, and then we start her first year. Now here is why I'm getting nervous. I don't have the app pages in, and it's thick. So I really did not want to have to break up her first year album. I really wanted this to be just the first year, but here's the thing. I'm not doing 1 year per album. I'm just gonna go, right? So like wherever this ends, that's the thing I need to remember. It's a decision that I made prior to doing the album, is I'm just gonna go forward. So because I've done stuff currently and I'm going back and I'm doing things different and I'm changing things, everything is not going to be perfect. It's not, I can't get this perfect image in my head of, okay, well, this is exactly how I want it, and I'm going to be super disappointed if it's not exactly like that. What I'm going to have to do is decide, okay, each year isn't going to fit into one album. So how does that look? How can I accept that and move forward? And for me, that's going to have to probably look like things might stop in the middle of a year and the next album starts. I will note that on the spine. Probably the last thing we do is we'll label all of her albums because they all need to be relabeled because I've done it this way. And then also, I just want to mention, if I had a baby now and I was documenting now, I would have done the whole process differently. I would have done what I'm doing right now is what I would have done. They didn't have pocketed pages back when I was doing Kayla's album. They didn't, like, it wasn't a thing. I was just scrapbooking. I just was doing traditional pages. That was it. There was not as many options. So if you're watching this and you're more at the beginning of the stages and you're like I feel like there's probably two camps here. There's probably the camp where I'm in, where I'm like, I'm having to go back and fix things and figure things out and make it work and then go forward. And then there's probably some of you that are watching that are like, I'm just getting started with this and what do I do? So I would do what I'm doing now, and I would do pocket plus traditional. It would look probably more like what Andrew's looks like. So that is definitely a thought. And again, I love your comments. I love that you're sharing like where you're at and what you're doing. And if you have specific issues or problems or like roadblocks that you're running into, leave a comment and I will cover it. I'll do a whole video on it if I need to do that, to help you continue, you know, getting your albums done. So this is what the title page will look like. I used these photos. I've probably already talked about that in the beginning. And then we have some stuff here that we'll tackle. And then we start the first year album. I'm going to leave the sticky note on here just because I will probably label up there, but I just want to, I'm going to leave the sticky notes until I am for sure finished. Okay, so here is what the title page of her first year album was. Okay, and then we have the PL prints. Okay, so this is, you've already seen the footage of me taking the photos and doing the Project Life app. So anytime you see a sticky note, that is the process. The next video you see, I will have the prints and we'll pop them in. Then we have another set of PL prints. We also have this. This is a tracker that we did. Kayla had some weight issues when she was born that we went through. And so we had to do this. It was regarding my breastfeeding journey and all of that stuff. And I'm going to journal all about that on the back of this because I want this to be in here. This is my husband's handwriting. He's the one that tracked everything and wrote everything down. And I want this in here, but if she was just flipping through this, she might be like, why in the heck did my parents have this? Okay, so another app page. And then we go into February. So oh, okay, so January would have been the birth pages, okay? And then this does not have a sticky note on it. And it might just have to be for some extra items, because one thing that I did run into in doing this is the way I'm doing the app pages, which you've already seen, there's 4 photos. So I need 4 layouts per one layout. That's the whole point of taking the photo and using the app, is condensing some of the layouts I don't think are necessarily super important to be traditional in here. So basically, to do 2 pages, I need 8 layouts. You know, 2 for the top, 2 for the bottom, 2 for the top, 2 for the bottom. There's no sticky note on here, and I'm wondering if I did not have like a thing, which is fine. I'll find something to put there. Then we have February. So I did all of her traditional calendar pages that I did, because when she was born I did a calendar page with details and milestones, and then I did like her monthly photo. And then we have PL print. See, so here's 8 layouts that will be condensed to 1. Then we have March, and then a traditional layout. I just backed all of the layouts with white cardstock, and some of them I did front and back with 1 piece of white cardstock because it saved paper, and some of it wasn't a big deal, and I'll show you some of those as we go. So here is a traditional layout, and then PL prints right here, PL prints. And then here is one where I had found these photos. I'm sure I chatted about this at the beginning of the video. And then when I was going through her layouts, I found this traditional layout that I did. So I just added these extra photos in between the layout that I did. Here's April, and then some PL photos, Project Life app photos. Then here's May. Now some of the layouts, because her original album was post-bound, and because post-bound back in the day, I don't know how post-bound albums are today because I've changed to all ring albums, and so I'm not positive if this is different now with post-bound, but back in the day, post-bound was shorter than 12 by 12 because of the way the album just worked. And so that is why some of my layouts, I was able to trim down and just do a white border, which looks great. Some of them I just had to go top to bottom and have just one thin white border on the side to make it as big as 12 by 12, but you can see there was no way for me to trim this down. All of my embellishments or the photos all went to the top or the bottom, and I wasn't able to trim them. And then I think this was one of the only, I think I had one or two layouts that was on really thick cardstock and was true 12 by 12. This happens to be one of them, so I didn't need to put it on white cardstock. The point of doing the white cardstock is twofold. Some of these layouts were very, very flimsy. Like this one in particular, this paper right here was very, very thin. It was like the consistency of like printer paper. So it's very thin, and I wanted to make that a little bit more stable. All of the ones that I am photographing and putting in the Project Life app, those are gonna go in a separate album, and I will do the same thing to those. I will do a white piece of cardstock for any of them that aren't true 12 by 12 or that are flimsy. Those layouts that I am photographing and doing in the app and adding to her album, I will keep the traditional ones for myself, and I will just put them in an album and put them on the shelf, and I will have those. So some of them needed to be true 12 by 12, and some of them needed some reinforcement, and so I did that. And then, like I said, some of them just have the thin border because I could not trim the top or the bottom. So then here's June. And this has a lot of, you know, like milestones and, you know, what I consider quick journaling. And then this is my grandmother, her great grandmother. And then this is my mom, which is her grandma. And there's some journaling on here. This will be a PL print, so it will have 4 layouts. And then I just added this one in here. It was a single layout, not a double layout. So that worked. And then July, her little feet. And then this was a trip. We went to Glass Beach. It's on the coast. All of the glass washes up on the shore and it becomes really smooth. And so it's called Glass Beach. Then we have August. Some more PL prints. And you can just see I made PL prints. I made a little square noting what design I'm going to use. And then I just listed the layouts. Then we have September, we have October. This is just covered up because she is naked, and I mean she has a diaper on, but she doesn't have a top on, and you know the internet weirdness, I just felt like I should cover that up. So October, and then PL prints, and then a layout here, and then there was another layout that was in this like realm, and it was, we went to an apple farm, and so again I need 8 layouts to have like a double side, or I need 4 layouts and a single layout like I did here. This is going to be 4 layouts condensed, and then I just had a single layout that I was able to put there. So there was another layout. We went to the apple farm. It was a double layout. So what I did is I just picked which one I wanted to go into her album. I picked this pumpkin one, and then I'll just have the apple farm in the album that I keep. So then here's November, first steps. Then we have this one. She still has Hugsy. That is her penguin. I probably should put some journaling in here about Hugsy. I might put that right in the middle. Then we have December, and then we have a PL print, and then that wraps up her album. Now January would start her second year album. I don't know if I will need to put anything on the back here, but again, I may end up having to break this up because I just don't know how it's going to. I think it's going to be too thick when I start adding the Project Life app pages. We're going to have to see. So I'm super happy with this progress. I was super happy to be able to get all of the layouts photographed and into the app so that I can get those printed. And I feel like this part was the hardest part of this project. This part and going back, the next hard part is going to be going and figuring out where all these photos are, printing them, and then doing the journaling. I don't know if I will type the journaling or if I will write just on here. I'm not positive exactly what I'm going to do. We'll tackle that in the next video. But I feel like this was the most difficult part, and there are some parts of projects that just make you avoid the project, right? Where it's just like, you know what needs to be done, you know how to do it, you have all the things to do it, but it feels like it's going to be hard, it feels like it's going to be tedious, and so you avoid doing it. And that is where I was at for this part of the project. I am going to keep all of these, the white cards I cut down. I'm going to keep those so that I can continue to trim those down and make that all match. And then yeah, in the next video we will tackle the photos in here. I will have the Project Life app prints, and then we will see. I mean, that's so thick, you guys. I really don't think I'm going to be able to get the app pages in there, but we will see. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm excited to be doing this series with you and tackling this, and I will catch you in my next video. I will hope to have one up for you next week. I've been trying to continue and post one each week, but you may see my Project Life family album next week. It's just going to depend. The month of July has been brutal. I'm in California and we have had a horrific heat wave, and I just have not been doing well with the heat. So I'll see where I get to. Hopefully I will have progress for you. So thank you so much, and I'll catch you in my very next video. I wanted to say thank you so much for all of your support and kindness. Thank you to, I have had a few members that have joined my YouTube membership. So thank you so much. They've joined in the last week or so, and I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. It has been a really rough summer here in California. We have had such a major heat wave, and I have struggled a lot. I'm still struggling quite a bit, and that is for sure holding me up on getting content. I do have so much content planned. I'm hoping that there is a break in the weather and that I will be back to normal content posting. But thank you so much for watching my videos, showing up for my summer craft room series that I have been posting, and then joining my YouTube membership or my website membership, either one if you've joined. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so very much. And your kind words and comments and well wishes have been amazing. So thank you so much. Here on the screen are 2 other videos that you can check out. You can also go back. I've been filming the process of Kayla's video, so you can go back and check out the other videos I have posted. Please like this video and subscribe so YouTube will be kind to me. I always like that. And I will catch you in my very next video.